Welcome to Fearlessly Made You. I am your host, Kristie Tobias. Joining me today are guests just striving to dominate in their personal and professional lives while answering the question, what does it mean to be fearlessly made? Welcome back to Fearlessly Made You. I am your host, Kristie Tobias. For those of you that are new to the Fearlessly Made You crew, Fearlessly Made You came about as a spinoff of my book, Fearlessly Made You, which is a discussion around my journey with post-traumatic stress disorder and how we learn to own our Fearlessly Made You journey. That doesn't mean not having fear, but it means not allowing fear to own your journey for you. And so one of the great things that I love about the book, Fearlessly Made You, is that in that conversation, there's this authenticity about who you are, owning your journey, and really just kind of leaning into that. And so the great thing that I love about that now is with our show and our podcast, I can bring people on to this journey with me. People who inspire me, who motivate me, who really represent the Fearlessly Made You mentality. One of those people that I'm just honored to bring on the show today is Molly Rockwell. Molly and I met through, as you guys know, I love cycling, I love working out, through Ride Society. And so Molly is passionate about body movement, but she's also passionate about a few other things that I'm excited to dive in with her about today. She's passionate about body positivity. She's passionate about making sure that we're really looking at and understanding what it means to represent the LGBTQIA plus community. And she's also passionate about lots and lots of animals. So without further ado, I am bringing to the show Molly Rockwell. Molly, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. That was such a good intro.
Did you love it?
What else is she going to say about me? This is so nice.
I didn't know either.
So listen, sometimes you start a sentence, you don't know where it's going to end.
I know. And on that note, I think one of the cool things that is so fun is when I get to bring my wonderful friends on, I get to cheers with them. So I've got my sparkling water. Molly has her champ. So we're going to do a little cheers. Cheers. But Molly, I think the cool thing is, and it feels like it's been much longer than this, but it's been a few years now that we've had the chance to develop a relationship. But for those of you that have not met Molly, Molly is one of the most authentic people you'll ever meet in one of the most beautiful ways. And we say that and we laugh because Molly does not care what you think about her. And I love that. And it is, and y'all know already, my Fearlessly Made You crew, y'all know how important it is for us to own our journeys. Y'all know how powerful that statement is to me and what that means, because our journeys are messy and they're supposed to be. Our journeys are ours and they're supposed to be. Our journeys are unique and they're supposed to be. And Molly really emulates that. And so I want you guys to learn a little bit more about who Molly is and why, because that journey has been very interesting.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you just to share, let our Fearlessly Made You crew get to know a little bit more about who you are.
Well, my name is Molly. I grew up just down the road in Niceville. So moved far enough away that I felt like I was far enough away. And when you come from Niceville, when I moved to Pensacola, I was like, it's a big city.
Because they're like big city.
Pensacola is so small. I'm like, I don't think you understand where I grew up. I moved here for college and I have an art degree. So like, I don't know, what do you do with an art degree? Like nothing, basically. I went to college, I get to say that. And then I met my partner when I was in college. We got married when I was 20. We've been together for the last 11 years.
An adorable, wonderful human.
Yes. Oh, my sweet, sweet love. Just a joy. I just can't say enough good things about them. I love them so much.
Molly will say so much more, but the two of them together, your journey, and we'll dive into this.
Yeah.
Your journey and the parallels and alignment. Oh my gosh, it's kind of magical because and y'all have heard me talk about how single I am, and continue to be. But I think the cool thing with Molly's journey and the purposefulness in her saying partner is so cool. And I don't mean this in like a facetious way. I mean it in there are very few people who get the opportunity to align in a parallel place in their lives in full transition.
Oh yeah.
You guys have had. It just amazes me. And so I say that to say, if I were to ever find that partner who aligns, this is what it looks like. So, but please continue.
We try. It's been ups and downs over the last 11 years, as anyone who has been in any long-term relationship can say. But we've landed in a pretty good place, I think. Just giving each other the space to, like, we got married when I was 20. I had no idea who I was going to be or where I was going to end up. And we've really given each other the space to sort of grow into our adult selves and realizing that at certain points along the journey, we were really in sync. And at certain points we were really not in sync, but knowing that I love you as a person, and wherever we end up, I would like to be next to you in this. So I'm just going to give you the space to go through what you got to go through, and we'll meet back when we meet back, and I'm still going to be here.
Yes.
But yeah, so we got married when I was 20. We've stayed in Pensacola, and I taught preschool for a few years.
Small things to know.
I like nannied a lot, and then fell into teaching preschool because I love everyone else's children.
Same.
Fun aunt for life.
Same. Fun auntie crew right here.
Love it. Listen, why be a mom when you can be a fun aunt? It's all the best parts. And so then I danced my whole life growing up. It was just the way that I found an outlet. My mom is a big musical theater person. She was always singing and dancing, and she really instilled that performance love. And I sang, I danced, I do all the whole things, because from a very young age, all of our home videos are camera pointing at me going, Molly, sing this. It's like I knew all of the words to like Yankee Doodle Dandy when I was 3, just because my mom was like, it'd be really cute if you sang this with a little flag. And so all of our home videos, I'm just like a circus performer as a child.
Magical.
So I danced my whole life because it was an easy activity that I could do, as where my community was. I had friends. Went to college. When you become an adult, there's not movement opportunities like that. Like, I never had to think about how I was going to move my body because I was in dance 6 days a week. Like, I would go after school, before school. And then when I was probably, I guess, like 22, it just like, full stop.
Well, and almost giving a full stop to that too, because that I think is really interesting and can dive into so many different areas. So take it where you may, but like, I want us to think about too, that space in your life where you realize, oh, wait, what I've done, what I've loved, what I've been passionate about may not make it into this phase of my life, and what that looks like. So take that where you will, but I think that's an important thing to kind of understand.
Oh yeah. I remember there were several years period I felt like I needed to do something with my body, but I just wasn't sure what it was. Like, I tried literally every exercise program. I have tried it, and I hated every single one of them. I would do it for a week and be like, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I went through a period where I was just like, I'm just not going to move at all. Listen, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I just am going to melt into my couch. That's fine.
It's an option.
So there was definitely like a grief, I guess, if you're like a child performer, a child athlete, a child anything, that transition into adulthood where it's not built into your day. It's not a team that's expecting me to be there. You have to realize what you liked about that and what you want to take with you into your adult life and what you didn't like about it, and where there are spaces that you can find that same like passion, that same drive. And so I took a bar class in 2015. It was right after the like, I will be one with my couch period for like a solid 3 years. And listen, I love my couch still, no shade.
Same.
But I took a bar class, and the structure of it felt very like a dance class. Like, we start here, we go over here, we do this, 50 minutes, you're done, in and out the door. And I was like, oh, okay, group fitness. There's a group waiting for me to be there. There's a schedule that I have to look at. I can plan my week. Listen, there's a late charge if I cancel. Like, accountability. Sometimes that's what gets you there. I don't want to pay you money to cancel. I signed up. I committed to it. I'm going to be there. So I took bar classes for a couple months, and then the opportunity came up to train to be a teacher. And I was like, well, why not? Let's just see. So I went through that training process, and I got certified, and I taught bar for 2.5 years, and really started, I think that is what started to give me a voice as like someone who moves as an adult and wants to help other people be able to find that.
And, as you say that, for those of you that have had the chance to see Molly in action, whether it's at Ride Society or Wild Lemon, and not to steal your thunder as you talk about your journey, but I think this is an aha moment for me in hearing this, because when you take a Molly class, and I've told you this before, it's going to make me kind of cry a little bit in a good way. Because so as you all know, I've moved, and the last class that I took with Molly at Ride Society, and I don't want you to cry, because it make me cry too.
Listen, I just won't look at you.
I know, don't look at me. Molly has so much joy and passion when she is performing and dancing, and when she takes that and brings that to you. She did an entire playlist for me for our ride, and I remember looking at you, and I'm like, there's this space of your life that I'm seeing come out, and hearing this makes that go full circle. I was like, oh, that now makes sense to me. This is where you're able to connect the dots to where you were, to where you are as an adult in an authentic way. Yeah. And it moved me, and hearing that, I was like an aha. So you guys are probably oh, this makes sense now in my Molly classes. I totally get it. And I had to say that. It's just,
I have this thing where if I love something just as a part of my personality, I also want you to love it.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to work so hard to get you to love the things I love. Yes. Or at least to appreciate the things that I love. And so after teaching bar for 2.5 years, that journey just sort of ended. I had been taking classes at Ride Society. They'd only been open 2 months. Yep. And I asked Claire, I had been taking classes and was just like, maybe I could do this. But at the time, I was always the person, you can ask any of my friends, I was like, I don't want a cardio. Let's just not.
I agree.
I like a slow and steady. Yep. Cardio's not my jam.
You have a following of people who don't
listen. Cardio. It's some people love it, some people hate it. But I think what I had to find was the type of cardio that didn't feel like it was work.
Yes. Oh, yes. And, as you hear Molly mentioning Claire, y'all may have, that name may sound familiar. We've had both Claire and then also Sydney, who's part of Ride Society. You may be noticing a theme. The people I love may or may not be connected to Ride Society.
We have those challenges where they're like, bring a friend. I'm like, I don't have any friends who don't come here already. I'm going to have to go solicit strangers on the street.
So are you coming to class?
Do you want to come with me? So I remember asking Claire, they had just started, they only had 4 or 5 instructors, and just asking her hey, do you think I could do this? And she was like, absolutely, let's get you in, let's do it. So from the time I stopped teaching bar to the time I got on the Ride Society podium was 6 days. I quit and was like, turn around, here I am, let's go. Which meant also that I had to do a lot of on-the-job training.
Yes.
Because I already knew how to teach. And they were just like, fly free, my child. And so I very quickly learned a lot about not only coaching from a physical standpoint, because there are certain things that you have to make sure everybody's doing the right thing. They're not going to hurt themselves. Yeah. But I think because I came from a place of, as an adult, was searching so hard for the movement that I loved, that I tried a lot that I hated. And I thought for a long time that that's just what it was. Exercise as an adult is something that you do because you have to, and you don't like it, nobody likes it. True. And we move on. It's just another one of the adulthood things that nobody tells you about. And you're like, well, fantastic. But when I realized that I could move my body in a way that also moved something inside of me. Yes. The switch sort of flipped. And then also, having already been in the fitness sphere for 3 years at that point, I wanted to be a different kind of instructor, because I'd had a lot of classes. I'd been to a lot of gyms where the motivation is, you are here to 1, change something about yourself, 2, shrink something about yourself, or 3, punish yourself in some way. Right. And that is all I'd known about exercise. And so I wanted to be a dissenting voice. There is another way to move your body. It doesn't have to be, you can't fuel it with hate. There's a way to do it with love. Yes. And I wanted to be a different kind of voice, which it just sort of developed organically from me teaching. Yeah. So I don't really know how it happened. And I started teaching, and then all of a sudden they're like, Molly's the self-love queen. And I was like, okay, yes. Great.
Well, and you absolutely are, because I love the reality that you are placing out there. How many of you at some point in time have exercised or committed to some kind of diet or lifestyle because you're like, I need to lose weight, or I need to tone down. And I'm saying this speaking to myself because I think for so long, and especially if you grew up as an athlete or a performer, you had something you had to maintain. Like I've got to keep this body. Like I was a competitive cheerleader, so I had to be this small person. And then as an adult, you're like, but I'm not training for anything. So what happens now? So it's almost like we're conditioned to teach ourselves to train for something or to change something. And that's the only reason you do something. But Molly is so, and as I'd mentioned, y'all, I bring people here who inspire and motivate me. Molly, there was this moment when we were at one of your Wild Lemon classes, your bounce class. And I think it's either before or after, but I was talking about, I wear these pants to hide the belly. And you're like, oh, the belly is to help support your organs. Like it needs to cushion your organs.
They need space.
Yes. And I remember there was a moment of aha. I was like, yes. Yes, it is.
It's important.
It's important. And I love that you are an advocate for body positivity. And I really want to lean into that. And for those of you that are listening and you're like, I feel like as they've been talking, something has been happening in the background. We're in the middle of a little bit of a Florida thunderstorm, hurricane, whatever you want to call it. So that's all right. Just enjoy a little bit of the soothing music as we continue to talk about the joys of body positivity.
We love a rain sound.
We love a rain sound. But I do want to dig into that because as we're talking about the cushion of the body and like that's protecting your organs, I think that's the coolest thing that I love. Like all of Molly's social media talks about love yourself, love who you are. And it actually goes into the research behind it too, which I think is so important. So let's lean in on that a little bit. Like where did that body positivity side of who you are, I love.
It started because I danced my whole life. And it's you're in front of mirrors all the time. You are compared to other people's body types. You have to be a very specific body type in order to even be considered to dance and do things. It's a very like visual, it's a visual art. And so they have this like stigma where like you have to be teeny, teeny, tiny. And for most of my life, I was just genetically, I'm a small person. And I didn't ask for this. It just is how I was born.
Just how she is.
And then when I started into adulthood and my body just sort of started shifting from like teeny tiny child athlete body into like grown up person who doesn't move a lot body, I was very taken aback. I was like, I don't like this. This is not how my body is supposed to be. I have to look a certain way in order to be successful in what I want to do. And then when I started trying all those different forms of movement, my goal going into every single one of them was I need to be smaller, I need to be smaller, I need to be smaller. And when you go into something with the mindset that you have to change, it's going to change something about you. When you don't see that change, you quit. Like you give up.
You're right.
I didn't see the results I wanted. I wasn't enjoying the movement I was doing. And so I was like, well, this isn't for me. And then starting with when I started teaching at Ride Society, even more getting to know like the riders and hearing people's stories, everybody at a certain point has felt like something about their body is wrong. Something about them is too big, too much. And it just got me thinking, like, I felt this way. Everyone I know has felt this way. What if it's not us? If everybody feels this way, it's not something that's wrong with you. It's something that it's something that's wrong with the messaging that you have been told your entire life, that you have to be a certain thing. You have to shrink yourself. You have to make yourself smaller. You have to make yourself less in order to get the things you want. And it's universal. Everyone's been told that. And I started thinking about and really researching because I am a know-it-all. I love to know things.
Me too.
I love to know things. I love to research things. I want to know the why behind everything that I'm doing. I like to question things. And I really started looking into the diet culture industry. It's like a $70 billion industry.
Oh my gosh.
And there is no scientific proven way for someone to, every single time you do this, you lose weight, you keep it off. It's not, there's no science behind it.
The body changes so much.
It changes.
And it's supposed to.
And when you are doing these things to constantly, the diets, they're not built to work because they want you to come back and try something else and spend more money on them. And when I started thinking about it from a standpoint of who has told me that I'm not enough, what are they getting out of it? And what am I getting out of it? And what I'm getting out of it is nothing. I get out shame and I get out that I'm not good enough. And what they are getting out is my money, my time, my sanity, my peace. And it's not I don't want you to have that. That's for me.
Is anyone else, and you cannot raise your hands because I cannot see you, but you can say to yourselves, oh my goodness, everything that I thought about the way that I do life, because I think we inherently know that there are parts of what we've been told and what we've been taught for so long. And it doesn't have to be coming from family or anything like that. It's just from the world around us that we ingest and we just assume it's right.
Yeah.
Because it's what we've heard for so long. And then we have to backtrack and remind ourselves, hold up, but does that feel right to me?
Yeah.
Does that bring value to my life? And I don't think, and I know we've talked about this a lot, Fearlessly Made You crew, and again, it's why I love having Molly here to lean into that. The things that you value are what you need to continue to keep in your life. The things that don't bring you value, remove them. It's that whole Marie Kondo thing. Does this bring me joy? Absolutely not.
Thank you, goodbye.
Remove it. We're getting out of it. Like I'd mentioned before, I do that with men all the time. So
Say thank you, goodbye.
goodbye. So we're doing this now with philosophies, and it's my challenge to all of you. Let's do this now with philosophies of how we see ourselves. So I love that you say that, Molly, because does this align with what's gonna provide value and benefit to me?
Yeah.
Nope. Why am I believing it?
And I had to start thinking about, where did this thought come from?
Yes.
Because the thought that my body is wrong, or that I only have to exercise in order to shrink myself, did that originate inside me? And the answer is no.
Right.
Like every child is born, they run free, they play, they do not care what they look like. We're not born with that shame.
Yes.
It's like put on us.
Yep.
It's something that we have learned. And if we can learn it, we can unlearn it. It takes a hell of a long time to unlearn it.
Yeah.
Way more than it did to learn it. But it can be unlearned, and you have to be really conscious about thinking that, like, the things that I think, did this come from me?
Yes.
Or did this not come from me? And I had to assign it a little tiny voice. Her name is Regina. And when I start thinking, I'm like, that's not a Molly thought, that's a Regina thought. And we don't need that right now. Like personifying those thoughts, giving it a person that's outside of myself, because it's not inside myself. It didn't originate in me. It was something that I was taught. So she's her own separate person. And I can say, Regina, now is not your time.
Yes.
We don't need this right now.
Right. Well, I think so I talk about giving grace, right? Giving ourselves the grace to receive the things that we need to help us grow. Let's give ourselves the grace to identify a Regina that really isn't part of our growth.
No.
We all have that negative self-talk or the self-doubt that I think so many of us sometimes just consider just part of how we live. But I love that. That actually is not part of you. Remove Regina.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to give mine. I'm going to give mine like Sybil. I don't, right? So
We love that. I love that.
Sybil, get out the way, girlfriend.
Listen, you can't. And I'm an extremely anxious person. I've been that way my entire life.
Same.
And so it also has helped me to assign those thoughts to listen, Regina, I appreciate what you're trying to do for me. I know that you're trying to make me feel safe. I know that you're trying to make me the best that I can be, but either way you're doing that, I don't need that right now.
Yes. Well, and part of the Fearlessly Made You journey is owning your fearless existence and your fearless journey, which I love as you've been speaking through the things that have brought you value, the things you had to reset and shift in your life, but also how you brought like your passion of dance back into your life in a different way. I think it's also that cascade of how do I help other people do that?
Yes.
I think this is a really beautiful way to do that and helping people understand what that looks like.
What I am so passionate about is when you release yourself from the need to conform to all of that stuff.
Yes.
It gives other people the permission to do it too. And initially, I think there's a lot of anger when I say you don't have to want to be smaller to exercise. It's not the point of exercise. It's doing what you can for your soul and for your mind and for your spirit, because there are people who have spent their entire lives putting themselves in that box. And they think, if I have worked so hard to stay in this box, how dare you not exist in it?
Yes.
It starts with a lot of a little discomfort, get a little bit of anger because I have tried to conform. I've conformed. I've done my job. And you just throw all that out the window and you're living your life.
Yes.
I can't imagine that. Yep. But when you allow yourself to be fully seen, fully heard, vulnerable, messy, big, loud, too much, whatever it is, you're giving the people around you the permission to do that too.
Yes. And I think that part is no one is saying, and I want us to be really clear, No one is saying there's anything wrong with what you have done to get to where you are at right now. I think we can both say, growing up as performers, growing up on stage, we've done that with ourselves, but we had to shift from what is it that everyone is telling me as a child versus what is it that I'm telling myself as an adult.
Yes.
And that's where that adjustment comes in. I don't have to conform to this place in my life where people tell me what to do. I can own this place in my life where I tell myself what I will accept.
Yeah, it's separating, because I got so much good out of all of the things I did in my childhood.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's separating what is good for me now.
Yes.
What was good for me then, what I thought was good, like just realizing the things that work for me now, the things that don't work for me, just because it's a structure that I was built into.
Yes.
I don't have to do that anymore.
Yes.
I'm a grown up. That's one of the only good things about being a grown up. You can do whatever you want.
Yes.
Not a lot has lived up to the hype, except for the fact that, listen, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. Ice cream for breakfast. Let's go.
That's the thing.
And I can decide how I want to live my life, who I want to spend my time around, the things that I take in that do me good, and the things that don't. And I can just say no thank you to everything else that doesn't align with how I feel right now, which is really great.
Yes, I love that. And Molly, I love that you've been able to share that wisdom with our Fearlessly Made You crew. I think there's such beauty in understanding where your journey has taken you, how that's brought you to this place of embracing and loving and preaching. And I say preaching, honestly, body positivity, because that is exactly what you're doing, because you're challenging us. And I think we hear the word preaching sometimes and we take it in a negative connotation, but I want us to think about it from a positive lens of, what am I preaching to myself? What am I uplifting and empowering within myself? What am I telling myself? I'm going to accept this positive. I'm going to remove the Regina or the Sibyls because they're not bringing what's going to bring me value.
Yes.
I love that.
And the more you do it, it's a practice. Like you don't just wake up one day and say, I love everything about myself. Everything is great. It starts with saying, today, I am accepting who I am. And it might not even be, I don't love the way that I look every day, but I have realized that the way that I look is the least important thing about me. I can appreciate everything that my body does for me. And not really think about the package that it comes in, because it's just a package at the end of the day. Like it carries me through the day. It allows me to do the things I love, and I can let it be that. But it is waking up every day and deciding, am I going to focus on all the things that are wrong with me? Or am I going to focus on the things that I like about myself? Like, and transforming it into whatever you want it to be. Like, you just wake up in the morning and I say, today, I'm going to appreciate whether or not I like the way I look, because that changes. Today I'm going to appreciate I got out of bed. I used my legs to go ride a spin bike, which is one of the things I love to do more than anything in the world. I got to do that today, and my body let me do that, regardless of how I think it looks. It let me do those things. And just shifting your perspective from how everything looks, how everything seems, how everything is perceived, to how it feels and how it makes you feel, how it makes other people feel.
I love it. So you guys, I love being able to bring this type of wisdom and knowledge onto Fearlessly Made You, because it reminds us that who we are, you guys hear me always say our imperfections are a blessing. The way that we operate, how we feel, what brings us value, that is what we need to put our priorities around. I think that is what we've learned from Molly today. So you guys, thank you as always, not only for tuning into Fearlessly Made You, but I also want to send out a big thanks as well to Molly being here. And then, as I've mentioned before, I always love to thank the people who make Fearlessly Made You possible. We have a beautiful partnership with the Dillards that has helped me get into this lovely accoutrement. So thank you, Dillards, for that beautiful partnership and helping me see my own body positivity and helping me find things that bring me joy. So thank you for that. And again, so grateful to have our beautiful, wonderful, fearless Molly join us today, share her wisdom, remove the Reginas, accept the way that we feel and the way that we own this life. And as always, guys, make sure that you tune in to the next episode of Fearlessly Made You.